Hey guys, Ushin here from Compound Martial Arts. Just coming at you with a video talking about guard flexibility and the stretches you can do at home to improve your guard flexibility. There's loads of different variations on what you can do in terms of the type of stretches and the variations and methods for stretching. What I'm going to show you here is what has worked for me in the past and what has worked for my students. It's not the most complicated, but it gets the job done. So if you have the time, which a lot of us do at the moment, definitely worth investing some time into this. First thing I'll say is make sure you do a warm-up before you do any of these stretches, and be careful if you have any injuries, okay? Don't push it too much. In terms of warming up, what I recommend is joint rotations. So as simple as working from head to toe, neck rotations, 20 on either side, shoulder rotations, 20 on either side, spinal rotations, 20, all the way down through the hips, through the knees, through the ankles, until you're warm. Once you've done that, I recommend probably about 2 or 3 or 4 minutes of basically some sort of light cardio. I would always shadow box personally, using knees and punches and kicks. You could also put on some good music and fist bump and dance away. Whatever gets you warm is going to be the right thing for you. And when you're ready to go, then you're going to work into your stretches. Now your stretches should be held for 60 seconds each. If you were doing 2 legs, for example, on a stretch, you would do 60 on one and then 60 on the other. Or if you're doing one exercise, you'll do 60 seconds of a hold, rest for about a minute, and then come back and do another 60 seconds, okay? The main thing to remember in terms of how many rounds you're going to do with your stretching is going to be that it depends on how much of an emphasis you want to put in that area. So for example, maybe you're flexible in the hamstrings, so you might just do 2 rounds, but you might be quite tight in the groin, so you might do 4 rounds. So it's kind of like a triage system. Dedicate more time to what needs the most work, and you'll figure that out really quickly as you work your way through it. In terms of the stretches I'm going to show you stretches that start from kind of an offensive standpoint until we get down to more of a guard retention style of stretch. So the first stretch we're going to do is going to be a rubber guard stretch, is the easiest way to call it. It's going to involve pulling the ankle and the knee and trying to create a stretch in the external rotators in the hip. So I'll show you this from 2 angles and then I'll show you a regression as well if you find this a bit tough. So the first one, rubber guard stretch. We're going to stretch out one leg. Our second leg comes up, we pull the ankle to us. Our goal is to try and get this foot to our shoulder and eventually this leg behind our head. But when we do this initially, we want to just support the knee. It's not a hard pull of the knee that takes the tension off the stretch. It's just a little bit of support so the knee doesn't get too much strain. And then both hands are going to draw the foot in to start creating that little bit of stretch behind the hips. If we do this on the other side, we're here, same again, small bit of support. We pull everything in, create a stretch, hold it for 60 seconds. I'll show you this from one other angle. Same idea. Pull the ankle, support the knee, both are going to draw in, and the opposite leg will stretch out. A regression you can use for this, if you find that a bit tough or if your knees are a bit dodgy, is to lock a triangle, like so. One hand goes through the legs, cups the front of the shin bone, second hand comes on top to reinforce, and again we just pull everything in nice and slowly. Bring the knee towards the chin. Like I said, 60-second hold on each of those, and if you find that that's an area that you struggle with, then do 4 rounds and then you can move on. The next stretch we're going to do is going to be a butterfly stretch, a real classic stretch. So back should be supported. Best place to support your back is probably against a couch while you're watching Netflix. It's a really easy way to get this type of stretch in. So I'm going to put my 2 feet together, draw the heels in as close to my groin as possible. I don't get anywhere near the same stretch if my feet are miles away from here, okay? You see a lot of people that think they're flexible and they have their feet here and they're pushing the knees down. You want to make sure those heels are drawn all the way in, like so. From there, I'm going to use my hands, which are now free because of the back support, to push my knees down. You can also rest a weight on top of your knees, or you can use your elbows to create a bit of extra tension as well. Same thing, we'll hold here for 60 seconds. Always when you're talking about these 60-second stretches, it's worth noting that a lot of the time when you feel a stretch at the start of the set, it'll actually diminish as the time goes on because your body relaxes into it. So create an extra bit of tension as you feel your body relax, so you get deeper and deeper into the stretch over the course of 60 seconds. A progression from this is to start doing variations of the lotus. So for example, you can do a half lotus, like so, resting one foot on top, very slightly lean forward. This creates a bit more strain through the knees, so don't push this one too much. I would recommend starting off with a half lotus on either side. You can do the same on the other side, like so, and then eventually you can work that up to the full lotus, bringing your foot over the top. Once we've looked at that, we're looking at the side splits. This is really now moving into the guard retention area. So a side splits with a forward lean is what I'd recommend when we're talking about guard retention. So I'm going to have my hands on the floor, my legs will stretch out, I want my heels to take the majority of the weight, and my elbows are going to rest on the ground. Trying to walk my elbows back as much as I can so I have my elbows almost between my legs. What we're trying to recreate here is the idea of being on our back, somebody's passing the guard, we need to be able to stretch our leg back behind us to be able to stop that or lengthen the distance our guard can cover. Our guard doesn't work directly in front of us like this, it works up in the air, so that's why we're going to try and mimic that, the stretch. Again, 60 seconds is a nice way to start with this. If you're very tight, you can rest your arms on a couch or rest your arms on something elevated to take a bit of strain off. After that, we've got the happy BJJ baby. This is a yoga type pose. From here, we want to bring our feet back. I like to bring my hands between the knees, grabbing onto my feet or heels, and I pull my heels towards the floor, like this. The BJJ version of this I like is to cross my ankles, connect my hands, and again I try and pull everything back, just like this. Trying to create a stretch in the inside of the groin, and sometimes if you get deep enough on the stretch, a stretch that runs back into the glutes as well. So you can 2-on-1 the feet sometimes also to increase the amount of stretch you get on one side. I always recommend, if you feel comfortable, stretch the leg out straight, like so, just to give yourself that extra bit of range of motion. And the last thing we're going to do here is basically the happy baby extension. So this will make sense to anyone that's been stacked past ever before. So when our feet are up like this, I'm going to grab one foot and extend it all the way out, like so, to try and create a stretch in the back of the hamstring. Try to do it on the same side with the window, but same thing, I stretch my foot back behind and as far out as I can. So we're stretching the hamstrings as well as creating tension on the opposite side, similar to a pressure passing position. So that's a quick rundown of how many? 3, 4, 5 stretches that you can do to really work on improving your guard flexibility, whether it's for offense or defense. 60-second hold on each one, 2 to 4 rounds. Make sure you're warm when you do it, and as time goes on, just push a little deeper into the stretch. In terms of frequency, you could do this twice a day, really. A lot of us now are kind of going to be locked down in this COVID-19 situation. So if you're finding yourself in that situation, you're at home and you've got some free time, this is an amazing opportunity for you to really take a massive jump in your guards' defensive and offensive capabilities. So put it in the time once a day, or if you can, twice a day, morning and evening if you want. It's only going to take you about 30 minutes to get through the whole lot. Throw some music on, throw something on the TV, start watching some of the BJJ Fanatics or the Jiu-Jitsu free seminars that have been released, and really make some good progress in this fairly bad time. Let's take a positive out of it. All right, all the best, guys. Hope you enjoy this. Talk soon.